From the land of lakes, this is 10,000 Takes, brought to you by Minnesota Score Radio. Wally and Eric back for yet another month as we slice and dice the always busy, always topical, super saturated Minnesota sports scene. And Wally, 10K Takes on television, yet another episode. And as always, there is plenty for us to get into, but I think first and foremost has to be the purple. They are sailing along.
I see that.
6-1. Yeah.
That's it. Look at this.
This is a tribute.
He's even got his, look at that. He even brought his Vikings
purple
folder with him. Man, you are.
I just dug it out of my my old Super Bowl bag.
Wow.
I thought I'd bring it in.
You don't get Super Bowl bags anymore.
No.
You don't go to Super Bowls anymore.
I haven't gotten a Super Bowl bag since Super Bowl 38.
I don't even know what that would be. That's what, 15 years ago?
Yeah, and that was in Houston.
Okay. All right, you're purple. Offensively, I thought very good against the Cardinals. Defensively, there's this bend but don't break defense, and it seems to be working. And again, as we've talked about for the last several weeks, they come up with big plays. They came up with a couple more big fourth quarter plays against the Cardinals. And, they win the football game. It's hard to knock what they're doing. Yeah, they haven't. Have they beaten a team that's over 500?
Green Bay. No, Green Bay's not
Green Bay's
over 500.
Is New Orleans over 500 now? I think that they might be 5-4.
Yeah, well, that division's
4-4 now.
really mediocre, the NFC South.
So they're not over. Miami, is Miami over? Are they 5-3? Okay, so there's one, but they played without Tua. So yes and no. I mean, you can only judge them based on their record, right?
No, each week you line up and play who the schedule tells you to play. And look, the NFL mandated parity going back to the Pete Rozelle days in the 1970s. And now it's parity on steroids. I believe the number is 78 one-score games this season already. That's an NFL record through week 8. Counting buys.
I know, you got to do the math
played
on this.
7 games. I'm not very good at crunching the numbers. But so it's parity's just run amok. So I think Minnesota Viking fans, don't start booking your trip to Glendale, Arizona, and Phoenix and the Super Bowl and all that. It's a little too early for that. But enjoy the ride. I mean, you're right. The defense appears to have flaws. Greg Joseph is anything but money when it comes to field goals.
He is flawed.
The offense certainly has given us Viking fans out there a lot to cheer about in most cases. But I think it's today's NFL. They're 6-1, and they're winning close games. They have a penchant for somehow, walking that tightrope and coming out on the winning side. Will the teeter-totter go the other way? Could. There's a lot of games left.
Well, yeah. I mean, and you've got Dallas coming up at U.S. Bank Stadium. You have Buffalo coming up in Buffalo. I mean, these are two pretty good football teams they're going to play here in the coming weeks. So, well,
you get to have Thanksgiving dinner with Bill Belichick in New England.
No, I do not.
Yeah.
I will not be there.
Bailey Zappi?
Nice.
Pumpkin pie with the Patriots?
I spend Thanksgiving with my family.
The game's late enough. You can do all the family stuff.
No, I am not. Unless everybody goes home because we've had too much to eat or something like that. It's not happening. I am not going to venture down to U.S. Bank Stadium on Thanksgiving Day. I'm just not. It's not in the cards, man.
Now, normally parking is free on Thanksgiving in downtown Meteoropolis.
Don't figure they're going to do that.
They'll kick in that event rate on Thanksgiving night. There will be no goodwill and holiday cheer. You can bet on that.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Come fork out your $25 to park at a meter 8 blocks away from the House of Noise. Thank you, Meteoropolis.
Yeah, it's a joke. Okay, one thing that's not a joke is that the move that they made, they go out and pick up T.J. Hawkinson this week, tight end from the Detroit Lions, who was a Pro Bowler back in 2020. It's a guy that can run that seam route. Does this mean to you that they have kind of given up on the Irv Smith Jr. Experiment? I mean, I know he's banged up. He's back on the injured list. But it does kind of signal to me that they're just not really thrilled with what they're getting out of him.
Well, I think Irv's problem is durability. He hasn't been able to stay on the field a lot.
And he doesn't have the size, if you ask me, because we've seen him. We talked to him in the locker room. I mean, he's not a gargantuan type.
No, he's more of a stretch tight end. Yes. I don't think they've necessarily given up. But T.J. Hawkinson looks more like
he plays the part.
He went to tight end U down at Iowa, and look, they gave up some picks. I feel like, remember, Kevin O'Connell came off the Sean McVay tree. What did the LA Rams do to win that Super Bowl?
Win now.
They got Matthew Stafford, and they said, we'll get rid of all these picks. Von Miller came over OBJ. I think the Minnesota Vikings now sense they're on the cusp of maybe being in this thing big picture. There's no reason not to believe it, right? There's enough talent on this team. So you got to go all in. You got to cash in your chips because this franchise, this fan base is starving for a Super Bowl appearance, let alone a Lombardi trophy. So go for it. It doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but I like the move for Hawkinson. I think he will be a safety net for Kirk Cousins, and I'm sure Justin Jefferson's happy with it.
Yeah, well, and they have team control for another year, too. It's not just one and done here. They've got him for next year, too. I think it's something like 11 or 12 million over 2 years. His salary is low this year, so he fits under the cap. That'll give him some time to figure it out next year. I like the move. And you mentioned that they gave up picks, but they actually were trade down picks. They weren't, they're not like giving away picks and getting nothing back, a la your Minnesota Timberwolves.
It wasn't the Rudy Gobert deal.
No, it was
Herschel Walker back in the day.
Oh boy.
Well, and TJ took the high road. Denny Green, very classy. He gave a lot of props to Detroit. That's the team that he's been playing for.
Right.
But imagine being TJ Hawkinson. You're on a 1-6 Detroit team that's going nowhere fast.
Flip the script.
Yeah, you wake up and now you're on top of the NFC North instead of at the bottom. So he's got to be thrilled. I saw one of his posts in the Twitterverse. He used that skull phrase. Like I said, as an Iowa guy, the Vikings get down into Iowa a lot. I was just down there a few days ago, and that was the game that they were running in the noon slot. So the Minnesota Vikings have a lot of fans in Iowa, including T.J. Hawkinson.
They have a few more as a result of
You're right
up
about
TJ.
that.
Absolutely. You know how it is. I mean, we were following Tyler Johnson when he was with Tampa Bay, in the Super Bowl. I say, hey, let's jump on the Tampa Bay bandwagon. Let's see if Tyler can make something happen at the Super Bowl. So, yeah, that's how it works, man. People are very parochial when it comes to cheering for players and teams. So
yeah, no doubt.
Anyway, before we go to break, quickly, a loss in the Vikings family this past week.
Yeah, Adam Zimmer. I mean, what can you say? I mean, it's really the ultimate tragedy. And so condolences to Mike Zimmer and his family. He lost his wife a few years ago. So been an extremely rough road for him in some of the family stuff, but
38 years
38
old.
young. Was with the Bengals as one of their, I think,
like a consultant.
Exactly, but he was still in the Twin Cities.
Right.
So, just unthinkable heartbreak.
Yeah, it really is. All right, when we come back, we will continue to talk Minnesota Vikings. Vikings running back Alexander Mattison going to give us the lowdown.
Yeah, 10K takes your purple ticket.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect. Maya? Oh, I love your earrings. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision. It's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
$10,000 takes, and we continue along, and we're going to continue to talk Minnesota Vikings, the purple in first place, making moves off the field. And we are joined now by Vikings running back Alexander Mattison. Alexander, you had to be thrilled. What was your reaction when you got the news that the front office had gone out and picked up TJ Hawkinson from the Detroit Lions?
I was pretty excited. I know it was a great pickup, That's credit to everything that he's done in this league so far up to this point, and just ready to get him over to Minnesota and get him rocking and rolling and get him up to speed, and hopefully he can help us going forward as we get him in town and ready to go for Sunday.
Alex, in your eyes, is this a sign that the Minnesota Vikings front office, led by the new GM, Quasi Adolfo-Mensah, are they all in on a potential Super Bowl run by acquiring TJ Hawkinson?
Yeah, definitely. I think it just shows how much we understand and value what we need as a team to continue to win games, but also continue to just grow in the sense of, like you said, making that full run, not just expecting to make it some playoffs, but trying to even get to the big dance at the end. We know we're going to have to make some sacrifices and make some moves so that we can get to where we need to be. And that's, that's in all different aspects of the game. So I think this is one of those moves that I think is going to help us out a lot.
Yeah, and I think that it shows the dedication of the offense to spreading the ball around. In other words, it's not all Dalvin Cook. It's not all Alexander Mattison or Justin Jefferson. They want to incorporate the tight end as well. Would you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, I definitely would agree. I think, looking at it, we try to do everything that we can to make sure that we put every single playmaker in this offense in position to change the game and help change the game. Whether that's, making a big play downfield, making a big play in the run game, whatever it's going to be. We have a lot of different versatility within this offense to get everybody in offense involved. And I think that's just going to open up even more with having him added.
One of the good things about TJ, Alex, is he's a hybrid guy. He can go down the seam and catch the football. He's great in the red zone with those Velcro hands, but he can also block. I mean, tight ends have to be able to get a helmet on a helmet, and that should help you and Dalvin and others in the running game, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I think, at that position, like you said, being a hybrid position, being able to do both run routes and catch and make big plays downfield, but also in the blocking scheme, being able to change the game in that way is something that tight ends nowadays are being called on to do a lot more.
You guys put up 34 points last Sunday against the Arizona Cardinals. What types of things did you like about what the offense is doing now and what you did in this previous game?
Man, we did a lot of great things out there, but I think one of the big things that at my position I can get excited about is the way we ran the ball. It was very efficient and very everyone was doing their 111 on every single play out there on that field, and the run game got going really well with the O-line blocking up front and everyone doing their job. And, we were able to hit some holes, have some one-on-one situations and showcase why, me and Dalvin could believe that, one of the best 1-2 punches in the league.
All right, this week back on the road to Landover, Maryland to take on the Washington Commanders. They're 4-4, but they've won 3 in a row. Chicago, Green Bay, Indianapolis. So they're a team trying to stay relevant in the playoff chase. Could be a tough one, right?
Yeah, they're getting their wind under them. They're understanding what it's with football teams on their side. And, you just have to give credit where credit is due. And, we're going to dive into the film some more and see where we can kind of take advantage of some of their weaknesses and see where we can just try and overpower some of their strengths with our strengths. And at the end of the day, you have a great football team on that other side of the ball that we just have to respect and understand that in order for us to have a chance at winning a football game on the road at their house, we're going to have to go in there and just play Minnesota Vikings football and believe in one another and trust in the process this week as we go into practice and lay it all out there on the field.
So how does a 6-1 team keep their eye on the ball, so to speak? In other words, you're playing a Washington team. You've got a huge lead in the division. You're 3.5 game lead. But as we all know, you could trip up. That could happen in an instant. You could get an injury here, lose a couple of games here and there. How do you avoid that?
Just staying true to the process and believing in us. We don't try to look too much into the outside noise. And, there's been a lot of talk lately. I've got a lot of questions about why the NFL and why people outside the NFL, why they don't respect us as a 6-1 team. And, my response is always going to be, we care about who's in that locker room and who's on that field, on that sideline with the Vikings wearing purple. And everything else outside of that doesn't matter. That's because we know what we have and we know where we're going. And we know the what we plan to do. So as long as we just stay true to that, not pay attention too much to the outside noise, whether it's a lot of praise or a lot of hate, as long as we stay true to us and that locker room, I think that we can continuously go out there and show why it is we believe that we have a real shot at being in the big dance at the end of the fall.
Alex, last week, Seattle head coach Pete Carroll said the multi-billion-dollar business known as the NFL should put natural grass in all of their venues. That would be 30. We know the Rams and Chargers share SoFi, and the Giants and Jets share MetLife. What do you think? You're going to play on grass this week against Washington. Are you a pro grass guy? Get rid of field turf? Where do you land on this?
I mean, it has been shown, and there's research behind how playing on grass is better for your joints and safety for sure. Landing on the ground, in the grass versus landing on the ground on turf is two different surfaces. But it's the name of the game, the evolution of the sport. Of course, turf, you can feel a little faster out there on turf. But grass is better on the body and better on the joints. So it just kind of depends when you're looking at surfaces and environments and locations where you're playing outdoor versus indoor, and everything that goes into all of that. I guess it's above my pay grade to kind of look at some of those things and understand why there's grass some places and why there's turf other places. But overall, I love playing the game whatever surface it's on.
In watching Kirk Cousins this year, do you sense an uptick in his confidence? It sure looks like it. Watching from afar, this guy seems like he's playing with more confidence than he ever has, particularly as a Minnesota Viking. What are your thoughts on how Kirk Cousins has been playing?
Yeah, definitely. There is. Not only is it just the confidence, but the swagger. It's everything about Kirk that's just kind of taken up a notch. He's sharing his locker buddy is Justin Jefferson, so definitely probably bringing out a little bit of the younger side of him as well. But man, he's always been Captain Kirk. He's always been the leader that he is, and the potential to be the player that he is. You look at the stats, and he just gets better every year, and just kind of goes unnoticed. And I just give him all the credit, just being the football player that he is, and I wholeheartedly just believe in him and believe in everything that he brings to this team.
Alex, you played your college football at Boise State on that blue rug out there in Idaho, and the Broncos are on top of the Mountain West Conference. Do you still follow your old college team from afar?
Yeah, most definitely. They got off to a little bit of a rocky start, and it was kind of hard for me from a distance, just being like, come on, guys. But I think they're doing an amazing job. I stay locked in and stay tuned in. I know we got BYU coming up this Saturday, so I'm excited to see that matchup.
Back to Kirk Cousins for a second, and the 17-yard touchdown run that he had against Arizona this past Sunday. Were you as surprised as it seemed everybody else was that he decided to tuck it under and go for the touchdown in that situation?
It was somewhat of a surprise, but he's actually tested the waters a couple of times and tried to show off a little bit of the speed that he does have, to put it that way. But yeah, it was a little bit of a shocker to see him just really go for it. But like I said, that's Kurt bringing out different parts of his game to make sure that he's impacting this whole team. And I think that he's always been capable of being a little bit more mobile. And I think he's just coming out a little bit more this season. And I'm excited to see him continue to use his feet a little bit more, because he definitely has some athleticism to him that sneaks up on people.
All right, Alex, thanks for joining us. The Minnesota Vikings sailing along with that 6-1 record. I know you want to keep the pedal to the metal. You'll see TJ Hawkinson this week, so this should be a lot of fun if it keeps up.
Yes, most definitely. I really appreciate you guys.
All right, he is Alexander Mattison, Minnesota Vikings running back. They are in first place in the NFC North. Stay with us. More on 10,000 Takes after this timeout.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
We are 10,000 Takes, Wally and Eric. Timberwolves, Wild, Gopher football all still going on. Let's talk Wolves for a minute. And without being too specific about one game or the next, I think in general, they have found the transition to figuring out how to use both Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns at the same time on the floor. It has not been smooth thus far, to say the least. I mean, they lost 2 out of 3 to San Antonio, and the Spurs weren't supposed to be any great shakes this year. They're missing 3 or 4 of their best players, arguably. And I don't know. I still think they gave up way too much, as far as the draft picks anyway, in the Gobert trade. Now, if they win an NBA title, none of this matters, right?
Oh, absolutely. Now, the early returns are in. You like that election phrase?
Very good. Yes, we dive into election week.
I agree. You know, this Twin Towers concept is more of a throwback. You don't see it a lot in today's 3-ball-centric NBA. So they got to get Kat and Rudy Gobert and the rest of the team on the same page. They have to be able to mesh. I think it'll happen. But beyond that, it has to happen. Because as you just pointed out, they gave up a boatload of picks to Utah. If this doesn't work out, and I'm talking about a deep playoff run, perhaps a title, they're going to look back and they're going to say, woulda, coulda, shoulda. We've seen deals like this in the past in Minnesota. So there's time. I can't imagine they don't punch a playoff ticket, especially with these play-in games now. But it's more than that. Right. This is about going on a run, so they got to figure it out.
Yeah, and you need to be in the top 6, oh, by the way, to avoid that play-in game that you just talked about. Right. So if you're 7 or 8, you're in, but you got to play your way in first. So there's more to it than meets the eye. And as far as the Twin Towers concept, you know, if you incorporate a lot of high-low in your game, that's different. Put one of the big guys at the free throw line, the other one down on the block. But Karl Anthony Towns doesn't like to be too near the basket on offense. He wants to stand out on that three-point line, fire away, and occasionally beat his guy off the dribble. And he can do both.
He's a stray cat. He likes to go out beyond that arc.
Yes, he does. I mean, he is really more of a 4 or a 3 than he is a 5.
Well, and I think, again, it's a comfort zone. You know, that's where Rudy and Kat have to get, you know, in sync. And then you've got Ant, explosive, acrobatic. And you've got other players that are very good. It's a pretty deep team. They appear to be well coached by Chris Finch. So I wouldn't panic yet if I'm a Timberwolves fan, but by New Year's, they better be, you know, getting on a roll.
Yeah. Well, they got to learn how to get back on defense. That's one big thing. When you got big guys and you're getting beat down the floor by these point guards and these little guys, that's an issue.
Well, and maybe that's the strategy if you're playing Minnesota. Let's run them. You know, I go back to, you know, the Showtime Lakers. You know, they'd get up and down the floor, but the one guy who wouldn't get back on defense was Kareem. You know, he was just kind of getting down there because he's 7 feet plus and dragging around Bill Walton all night or something like that.
So, I think Peter Graves said that.
Yeah, in the movie Airplane. Right?
He did. Okay. He did. All right. The Minnesota Gophers take an airplane to Lincoln, Nebraska. Speaking of airplanes, they've got to take on Scott Frost's former team. He's gone. Nebraska's a little better. They lost to Illinois last week. Must win for the Gophers if they want to make any kind of noise this year, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm throwing the gauntlet down. They have to win this game. They have the same record in the Big Ten West as Nebraska. And I still think even if they do win it, they're not going to find a way to overtake Illinois. They've lost the head-to-head matchup, so that's going to be difficult. They've already lost to Purdue. We know what happened at Penn State. They were buried in that avalanche, that whiteout. So this is about getting yourself, you know, in position to have 8 or 9 wins and get yourself a quality bowl game. They lose another couple, and Pinstripe Bowl, baby. Aaron Judge, New York City, Yankee Stadium.
All right, real quick. Tanner Morgan or Ethan Kalimaknanis?
Wow, that impresses me. You can say that. I call him AK.
AK.
I'm going with Tanner for now, but if they don't win in Lincoln, I'm going to start giving AK some reps because you got to know what you have going into next year. You don't want him next season to be basically a newbie. So let's see, Tanner, you and Mo Ibrahim and company get it done in Lincoln. If not, PJ might want to look at AK.
Okay. All right. Takes of the day coming up next. You're watching 10,000 Takes. Your Gopher take.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect. didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Wow, another episode of 10K Takes Television is almost complete. It goes by in a Minnesota minute. We'll have takes of the day here shortly, but before we get into that, Minnesota Wild, they dug a deep hole in the beginning of the season, but they appear to be slowly crawling their way out.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of it has to do with their defense and better play from their goaltender. Marc-Andre Fleury even got, third star of the week this past week. So, yeah, if they don't allow 20 goals in 3 games, they tend to win hockey games, And they actually had played well on the road.
Yeah.
And they came home, this week having, 1, 2, or 3 games on the road. So you got to be happy with that they're, kind of getting into the flow. And again, it's so early. It's hard to, just say, well, this is what they're going to be this year, one way or the other. But it was kind of alarming when they gave up 20 goals in 3 games.
I can't remember that kind of a stretch for a team in the NHL where it was just like, as I've said, the red light district. Every time you turned around, the red light was going on behind the Wild net. So they've cleaned it up, at least to this point. Are you pumped up for the Seattle Kraken on Thursday night, the second-year franchise?
Oh, yeah. About as fired up as I possibly could be. All right. Shall we do some takes of the day?
Yeah, let's find out what your mood is. Are you a cranky Yankee, a grumpy Guardian? Or dare I say it, are the stars aligned? Are you a happy camper?
Well, not usually. And in this case, the answer would probably be no. So as you know, the high school football playoffs are well underway. In Class 6A in particular, where all the large schools convene. This is a 32-team tournament, so there really is no section play per se. They take all the sections, they mix them up, they seed them, and they've got a 32-team tournament, which is the way it should be in other sports. You heard Matt Lombardi on this very show 1 week ago. The head football coach at Maple Grove said he loves this setup. And he said he hopes it bleeds over into other sports, particularly basketball, boys and girls. You need to do this. You get all the teams in the metro area. And in football, there's one team out of the metro. I think Brainerd was the only one outside of the metro. So it really isn't a travel issue. They come in for one game. I mean, it's like a typical Friday night. Brainerd's traveling all over the place to play their games anyway, right? You need all the teams in the metro area in one tournament, and you play it down. Don't give teams an open invitation into the state tournament just because they're in a certain part of the state or a certain part of the metro. That's bull. You need to take the 32 and put them into one tournament and play it down and get one champion. That's how they do it in football. Should do it in the other sports too, particularly hoops, boys and girls.
Mood meter says grumpy Guardian.
Of course.
There's a shock.
Yeah.
In other news, the sun will rise in the east. Okay, my take of the day.
Thanks.
I saw this earlier in the week. Bill Walton, UCLA Bruins legend in basketball, had a great NBA career, although he was banged up a lot. He said he's not on board with UCLA joining the Big Ten. Of course, USC will be the dance partner. That'll happen in 2023. He doesn't like it at all. He thinks it destroys tradition and, all that stuff that UCLA's built up over the years in the Pac-8, Pac-10, now Pac-12. And you know what? I agree with Bill Walton. Look, I would love to see the Bruins and the Trojans come to Minneapolis on a yearly basis. I would love to go out to the Coliseum or the Rose Bowl or Poly Pavilion. That'd be a lot of fun. But the fact is they don't belong here. That's a Pacific time zone. Bruins and Trojans are out west,
right?
And you're destroying the Pac-12, and it's all so the Big Ten can cash an even bigger check. The more I think about it, the more it sickens me. I agree with Bill Walton.
Wow. Yeah, I happen to agree with you as well.
And on that note, let's FedEx out our thank yous. One to the great crew behind the scenes at Channel 6. Also to Rocky and Alexander Mattison. For Wally, I'm Eric. This is 10K Takes Your Sports Ticket.